Good morning, gentlemen. Today is Sunday. Nice time to talk to you. And I'm going to enjoy talking to you today. I'm going to talk about India in perspective. And look at India from behind the curtain. Well, see, gentlemen, how does it work out? And why I am saying these words now? Because the Indian Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, has just now, as per the reports, flown in a sortie of the Indian-made Tejas fighter. And after he had made that flight, it's a very brave thing he did, he said that he is very happy with the Atam Nirbhar policy which he has adopted, and India is getting self-reliant. Wonderful. I like the thoughts behind it. But gentlemen, just talking about the Tejas, it is a fourth generation fighter, I think, maybe even third generation, I'm not sure about it. But it has an engine which is imported. I think it's an American engine. So how do you call it an Indian plane which has an engine which is the main component imported from America? India had made one plane earlier also, if you remember, but the Hindustan Fighter 24, HF-24. And this was designed by Dr. Kurt Tank, one of the German designers who used to earlier work with Focke-Wulf during World War II, during the days of Hitler. But that plane used to use a Rolls-Royce engine. And it was a bit of a failure. It didn't succeed anywhere. I'm just bringing out these points to show that we should have the stark reality where exactly India is standing. The point which we must make and remember is that we cannot ever catch up to America, let's be very frank about it, or even to Western Europe. But we can compare ourselves with China, and there also we are the laggards. Let's look at China. India and China were both exploited by the Western powers. India was a colony of the British, and before that a fiefdom of the Muslim Raj. The Hindus were the subjugated lot during the Muslim rule, paid the jizya tax and all that. The women were carried away by the Muslims. Part of the game. China also was badly exploited by the Western powers and also by the Japanese. The Japanese occupied the entire Manchuria, and they had committed a lot of atrocities all over China. So India and China both in the same boat, but the Chinese were much behind India because they had something called the warlords who were fighting all the time. And if you recollect, from 1900 to 1949, China was in a state of perpetual war. In contrast, during this period, despite India not having the sovereign status of an independent nation, was relatively peaceful under the British Raj, and there was a modicum of progress. India had the steel plant made by Jamshedji in Jamshedpur. Then we were making the automobiles, we were making the aircraft factory at HAL, which was set up by Walchand and was servicing American aircraft during World War II. So India was way ahead of China. And in 1949, India was the dominant power in Asia. The Japanese had been destroyed with 2 atomic bombs, and China was having a civil war between the Marxists and the Kuomintang, and the net result was China was totally backward compared to India, and not even a bicycle was made there. It's not a long time back, gentlemen, just 74 years. And in that 74 years, India has overtaken China only in one aspect, and that is population. We have beaten out the Chinese thoroughly as far as population is concerned. We are now the most populous nation in the world. And China has been able to curtail its population. It has its repercussions, because when you curtail a population, it has a repercussion, a echo effect, and the Chinese are suffering for it. But their economic status is much better than India. Their economy is 4 times the size, or maybe 5 times the size of India, number one. And their per capita income is 5 to 6 times that of India. And they have abolished poverty. We haven't been able to do anything. And not only that, China is the world's number one trading partner for 135 countries. Where does India stand? China's trade with America is $650 billion. India's is just about $130 billion. India has a trade deficit of $100 billion with China. I remember some time back I wanted to buy a mobile charger for my car, and I went to one of the shops and bought a good one. It was about 450 rupees. And I thought, what a wonderful item. When I saw it, I bought it. And when I put it back in the car and I opened it and checked it up, it was made in China. So, gentlemen, the point which I'm trying to make is China is subsidizing the Indian economy. So we must be very, very careful what we are doing. Whether it's in the military field, economic field, India is nowhere to catching up to China. I'll give you another example. I was in Dubai some time back, and there I was attending an exhibition of cars launched by China. I saw two companies launching Chinese cars. One was the Honky, and the other I think was the Estil. I'm not getting the name correctly. They're wonderful cars whose prices ranged from 130,000 dirhams to 250,000 dirhams, which is very, very economical car, and they're wonderful cars. In fact, the Honky is trying to compete with the Rolls-Royce. While as far as India is concerned, we haven't produced anything. We have been making cars from 1935 onwards, when Hindustan Motors started making the Morris car in India. But we couldn't produce a single made in India car, and whatever cars Tata and Mahindra are making are again with imported components, and not a single model sells outside. I haven't seen one running anywhere in Europe or in Dubai or something. So what is the ill? We must face up to the reality. The Prime Minister just getting into a plane and flying and saying that Atmanirbhar is on is pretty hollow to my way of thinking. And now there's a lot of boasting going around that we have achieved an economy of $4 trillion. Wonderful, I like it. 4 trillion is a lot of money, but what is the per capita income, which remains, I think, less than $2,000 a year? And that is 1/6 or 1/7 of China. Even a country like Argentina, which is in the throes of an economic recession, has a per capita income 6 times of India. We keep criticizing Turkey. Turkey's got a per capita income 6 times the size of India. And of course, you can't talk about Americans and all other countries which have incomes running to 30 to 40 times that of India. So somebody said, अरे भाई हमारी population बहुत ज़्यादा है, we cannot control its कारण. Wonderful, ये lame excuse है. एक टाइम था जब चाइना की पॉपुलेशन हिंदुस्तान से ज़्यादा थी, एंड नाउ हिंदुस्तान उनसे ज़्यादा पॉपुलेशन हो गई है. फेयर इनफ. पर कैपिटा इनकम चाइना की कैसे बढ़ गई भाई? I would like people to explain to me that way. And I would like people to know that China, as per the World Bank report, has eradicated poverty. Poverty is not there now in China. While as per the Government of India reports, I think जो मैंने कुछ पढ़ी हैं, उसमें 30% of the population in India is still below the poverty line. Who is responsible for it? There has to be some responsibility. But unfortunately, the Indians don't like to talk about these responsibilities and like to talk more on platitudes, like India is a respected nation in the world, India is the Bishop Guru of the world. I don't know what people keep talking, the Indian press, what is Bishop Guru and what is respect and all that. And nobody seems to take India seriously. That is another point. Now look at the way China went and got peace done between Iran and Saudi Arabia. They were not having diplomatic relations for years till the Chinese intervened and broke the thaw. While would the Iranians and Saudi Arabians have listened to India? And now the Chinese have called for a big conference in Beijing, where all the foreign ministers of Islamic countries have gone to try and see if they can work out a solution to Gaza and the Israeli war. Would anybody listen to India? Nobody wants to listen to India, and I have the very sad news that 9 Indians, or I think 8 Indian senior officers of the Navy working on a naval project in Qatar were sentenced to death. An Indian foreign ministry didn't know anything about it till the news came out. So this is it. And the old saying that one swallow doesn't make a summer, and one Modi is not enough for the country to move forward, because we have, along with one Modi who's the swallow trying to lead India forward, they have got 100 other people like Mr. Rahul Gandhi, Nitish Kumar, Sharad Pawar. All these people are detrimental to the country, looking for the ways and means they can come back to power. Country be damned. Look at Nitish Kumar. I think this man's got no principle in life. He just keeps on hopping here and there. Today he's BJP, tomorrow he's with the Lokdal, he's this thing, that thing. He can do policy, no philosophy. And now he's feeling disenchanted because he thought he would be made the convener of the opposition. Nobody's bothered about him. Rahul Gandhi at least doesn't want him. He knows he's a turncoat. And take any other person. Sharad Pawar's got no standing in Maharashtra. Somebody talks, he's a very wily man. He's a Chanakya. What other Chanakya is? He couldn't win a single bloody election in his entire life on his own. He never won even once. He always did some, plus and minus. Then we have got Kejriwal. I'm forgetting about this man. His only aim was to fool the public, and he did it very nicely by saying, I'm a crusader against corruption. और क्या हुआ? वो खुद ही करप्शन कर रहा है. इतनी करप्शन कर रहा है कि उसके जो डिप्टी प्राइम मिनिस्टर हो चीफ मिनिस्टर है वो जेल में बैठे हैं 1 साल से. हाउ नाइस इट इज. एक रेड इंडियन सेइंग की थी that there is no smoke without fire. And now the courts have gone threadbare into the cases against this man called Manish Sisodia. And I think they are convinced that there's a lot of smoke coming out of a very, very large fire. And so he's in jail. So gentlemen, we are coming to a situation, I'm talking in a rampant way, that India has a long way to go. You must be knowing the famous poem by Robert Frost, I think. He said, I have miles to go before I sleep. The woods are dark and deep, and I have miles to go before I sleep. So India has miles to go. We need a leader who can lead India forward, away from the parliamentary system. After all, if you remember, I think till 2012, Turkey was a parliamentary system with a prime minister. Erdogan got it changed to the presidential system because that is what is the order of the day, unitary of government. China is moving ahead because they have a unitary government. While we have got a fisciparous government, you have elections every 6 months or 2 years in one odd state continuing, and the whole country is in ferment. Probably it suits the opposition, opposition led by Mr. Rahul Gandhi and these characters. It suits them that this sort of ferment should continue. And out of this ferment and chaos, they hope that, the BJP and Modi will be defeated and somehow they'll form cobble a majority, get here and there, tum bhi aa jao, and try and form a government. So the aim is only power, because power gives you money. Then you can forget about Atam Nirbhar and all that. It's not required. And you can straight away start importing money and take 25% cut out of it, millions of dollars, in your pocket. And that's what they have been doing, the Congress party, for the last 70 years. It's only Narendra Modi who has come in and stopped all that. But as I said, one swallow doesn't make a summer. So Modi akele nahi kar payenge kuch. The people have to go with him. India has a long way to go, gentlemen. और strategically हमारी position बहुत खराब है. We have Pakistan is our enemy. Bangladesh is not your friend. And if anybody thinks that Bangladesh is your friend, let him just hark back to about 2 decades back when the Bangladesh rifles shot dead 15 Indian BSF Jawans and then carried them like they carry cattle, dead cattle and buffaloes, onto bamboos and handed them over to the Indians. And that time Vajpayee, I think, was the Prime Minister, and he took no action. So that is the type of character the Indians have got. So Bangladesh is not your friend. You know that recently the attacks on the Hindus there are continuing by the Jamaat-e-Islami. And then Nepal, which was your friend for centuries, and they have also broken away with the Communist Party and gone closer to China. And Bhutan, which was supposed to be the protector of India, has finally realized that if the Indians can't defend themselves in Galwan and other places, how are they going to defend us? Bhutan, it's a chota country. So directly they are just talking to China now. Burma was never friendly with India. It's always having close relations with the Chinese. And now they are embroiled in a civil war. The possibility of breakup in Burma is there. And Southeast Asia, that is Thailand, Laos and other countries, India had no priorities there at all. Even when Manmohan Singh was Prime Minister, I think that was the lowest priority. He never went there, he didn't bother about it. And he, in any case, everything he used to talk to Sonia Gandhi and get her concurrence and say, Madam, is it okay? And she would probably say, okay, and he'd go ahead. I thought this man was an absolute disgrace to the 100 crore people of India. But I won't dwell on that later. I'll dwell on that later. I have to talk of other things now. And the other things are that we have an industry that hasn't taken off. Our FDI is 1/10 of China. People prefer to invest in China. And there's a lot of talk going around, the capital is running away from China. Sab India aa rahe. I don't think anybody's come to India other than one or two companies. And we used to get some investment in any case, even during the British, in the days of the Congress. So that investment is coming, but there's not been a dramatic increase that, well, we have got from, say, 20 or 30 billion dollars to 200 billion dollars investments coming into India, not coming in. Because of the restrictive trade policies in India. That is one thing. So we have to reform the trade policies. The concept of strike, that has to be abolished. Until you do that, nobody's going to come here. Then we have to get out of the mindset of the caste division and then the linguistic division. And we must thank Pandit Nehru for the linguistic division. India, you must remember, was never divided on linguistic lines. Never. If the Marathas were ruling or the Mughals were ruling, it was not on linguistic basis. But Nehru brought in the State Reorganization Act and the states were divided linguistically, and net result is, आप देख लीजिए क्या है, फिर presidencies हो गई हैं. And secondly, the failure to reform the Hindu religion. क्रिश्चियनिटी में जो बाइबल ओरिजिनल थी उसमें बहुत सी वाहियात बातें लिखी हुई थी. उसमें एक जगह ये भी था, एक आर्कबिशप था अशर, he had written a statement that the world was created in 4004 BC. How he came to that conclusion, I do not know. But all that thing has been removed from the Bible. So Bible is changing with the time, and nobody follows the Bible. But we haven't changed anything. The caste system of Manu is sacrosanct, and it has continued. And I can say today on authority that any country which divides its population on the basis of caste cannot ever become a world power, because if you are going to give jobs on the basis of caste and not on merit, and meritocracy has no meaning, that country can never be the global leader. So there itself India is going to lose. There's a very nice write-up by the Chinese Institute of Strategic Studies. I think you can get it through on the internet and read it, in which the Chinese have said that India cannot progress basically because of the Hindu religion. I won't comment on it. It's an individual opinion. It's a Chinese opinion. I don't agree with it, yes. Because the interpretation of Hinduism in India is wrong. That's all I can say. Caste system, nowhere the Hindus said should be part of the government policy. It's a social change and it's to be brought about. But when the government perpetuates caste system, I don't see how Modi or anybody can talk of Atmanirbhar, and all that becomes irrelevant. And now coming to the political scenario, as I told you, The next elections are on in 2024. I am really not interested who wins, whether it is Modi wins or the Congress wins, because India will remain there and there only. When we used to do parade in the Air Force, we used to do on the spot marching, that is called Kadam Tal. So our instructor used to say, cadets, Kadam Tal. That means you do marching standing on the same spot. And that is what India is doing. Marching, standing on the same spot. There is no progress comparatively. Why should there still be 30% of the population in poverty? Why should 50% of the Indian women be anemic? Why a large number, maybe 30-35% of the Indian children have less protein to eat? And why India, because of all these repercussions on health, wins 1 gold medal in the Olympics while China wins 100. So India has got a distinction, yes. What is the distinction? We are the world's most populous nation. And despite being the most populous nation, India doesn't have that same clout in the world. Now, I challenge anybody to come on this point and discuss with me. India's clout in respect to America, Russia or China, you know what it is. And only lip service, that's about all. Gentlemen, I think things will change. I'm a positive man because, as I said, even one swallow can then attract so many more swallows. And we have got a nice leader in Narendra Modi. And I'm sure he will be able to deliver the goods. He will at least try. And let's wish him luck. I hope India progresses. But at the same time, even to catch up to China is a Herculean task. I don't think it's going to happen because the Hercules is not a real character. So once somebody is not a real character, how can you really emulate him? So gentlemen, I'll close now, say goodbye and God bless. In the same time, if you like my channel, please share it with your friends. Come back for more. It'll be nice to talk to you again. And I'll say Jai Hind, glory to India, and have a good time. It's Sunday.